Hey, so what is going on, everyone? It is me, Mr. Mario, and today I'm going to be bringing you a review along with my thoughts and impressions over the game Quantum Break. Now, this game is available on PC if you have Windows 10 and Xbox One. I myself played the Xbox One version, so my thoughts and impressions are going to be based on that console build of it. But I'm also going to be doing a more off-the-cuff approach style to this review as well, because I've done some scripted reviews in the past before, and they actually turn out to be a lot longer than I expected, and I figured this might be a good, kind of laid-back format as well, too, to get into this. So first off, let's go ahead and get into the story and the approach of that with Quantum Break. I know when they were promoting this game, they were really wanting to do a different type of, almost experience in some way. They didn't want it to just be a game, they wanted it to be a whole package and experience and something that people had not seen before. Do I think they did this properly? I think so in some ways. Now, to my knowledge, I really can't think of anything that's gone this far in depth with it. I'm going to talk with, the technology behind it as well, too. But essentially, when it comes down to the story of it, you take the role of a character named Jack Joyce, who is coming into town at about 4 a.m. to meet up with a friend at a university. He has to show him something really important, and essentially, it ends up being a time machine. But some bad things happen, and essentially, you are able to use time as your weapon because you essentially become kind of a superhero in some way and get these superpowers where you can manipulate time and space either willingly or unwillingly, and you learn how to do it more. But there's also going to be other people behind you trying to get a hold of that, along with this powerful organization trying to get back at you as well too, because they don't really want you messing with them, and they're not the type of people you want to mess with either. This is the typical scary private sector government establishment of some kind that everyone's going to fear. Now, the reason why I mentioned, the whole story and everything on this and kind of the package is due to the fact that I'm not going to get too far into the story, as I'd rather have that, be a surprise for users and all that and have that be spoiler free. But when it comes down to it, the interesting thing with this package is that they actually put in a full TV series as well too, or a bit of a mini series in this. Now, some people might have been confused, and I was as well too, because essentially they were promoting, Quantum Break the game, and they were going to be doing something different with it, and they were going to have a live action TV series. And then I was thinking, wait, are they going to have live action scenes in the game itself instead of, actual CGI rendered cutscenes and all that stuff? And that's not the case at all. The way it works is this: when you play through the actual game, there are little rifts and there are other things that you are able to collect and things that you can use to make your choices. This game is divided up into 5 acts. Each act has different parts, and there are 4 junctions. So one junction between each act. Now, at each junction, you make a big decision, but in each act, if you can find the ripples in time, you also make decisions which will affect later acts and also affect events that happen in the TV series. So essentially what happens every single time you play, you end up playing through an act, and then you play through a junction, and then you can see an episode from the TV series. So you see 4 episodes, each one's about 20 minutes, so you get about, 80-85 minutes or so of extra game time in there, if you really count that as game time. So this is going to be one of those games, if you're not a huge story person, if you don't want to sit through really long cutscenes, this might not be for you. Granted, you can skip the TV series, but I'd still recommend checking it out. There's also 2 options for that. From what I know, you could either A, just as long as you're connected online, stream it directly, or B, if you have the hard drive space and the bandwidth, and you don't really want to be sitting there, buffering or anything like that, if you have a slow internet connection, you can actually download the entirety of the TV show offline onto your system, so you have a local copy of it. You need a copy of the game though, so it's not like you can just watch the series for free. It does integrate into the game. However, the downside to this is it is 75 gigabytes, and when you see that at least the Xbox One version right now takes up about 45 gigabytes, I mean, you do the math and you just decide if that's something that you want to try and do. But the reason why I'm focusing so much on this mechanic right here is because I think it's pretty neat that I have not seen this done. Now, I've seen, other types of movie tie-in games, TV show tie-in games, anything like that, but this is a game right here where they were making, a story and everything with it, and trust me, I mean, all the in-game cinematics are still there, they're still going to be available, but you're also going to have this TV show on top of it, and it integrates itself into it, so it's not like you have to go onto YouTube and watch it, go onto Netflix, anything like that, and it's just those 4 episodes right there, and it's kind of, a side story that also completely integrates itself in there, so it makes sense as well too while you're watching it. And the big thing I thought of with this was, does anybody remember those old, like, Sega CD, Sega Saturn, I believe it was on Saturn, and even some PlayStation games that used full motion video? So you had the game, and you had live action cutscenes to represent the cutscenes in there. If anybody remembers that, those were never really that good. Now, in-game cutscenes, those could be different, but I'm talking about, like, live action scenes that were then put onto the system. It's because the systems were so low powered, they could barely put out, the proper video output or anything like that. And this is the first time now that we're able to do something properly like this. Not only the game does look great for what it is, but in addition to that, these systems that are being played are now also multimedia machines, so it's easy enough to have a TV show integrated in there and have it make sense and be stream it and have it be effortless and everything when it's integrated directly into the game. And on top of that, you can still have the game cutscenes as well too, which look great, and you have the gameplay available, which is still fun. Now, aside from the story, the technology, and all that, I'll go ahead and get into the gameplay of it. And the gameplay is a typical kind of third-person shooter. Now, the difference with this is, like other Remedy games that have come out, so Remedy has also done Max Payne, where they had bullet time and all that. They have something like that, and each game has something like that. Max Payne had bullet time, Alan Wake had, the slowdown sequences where you were controlling things with your light, and in addition to that, this game right here, you can, manipulate time and space and everything, and there's different types of powers you have that you gain throughout the game. Some of them you can, pretty much flash between locations, others you can run while you're freezing time, you can build up a barrier between yourself, you can freeze other characters and AI as well too, so it's all pretty neat to see what you can do. Now, my first complaint comes in with this, and it seems like an odd complaint, but they almost give you too many powers in here, and not enough that it feels invincible, but there's sometimes where I don't know if I was just tired, or if it's me getting too old, or I don't think I'm super old, but I don't know if it's any of that, but there were just sometimes where I'm like, okay, I almost feel overwhelmed at all the little combinations I have. Okay, I want to do this. Now, do I have to do this, or should I do this in this environment? So there were times, I might mix up a command or anything like that, and that might have to do with possibly limitations of using a controller as well, but as I said, I almost felt like sometimes they gave you too many different powers. Now, with that, you're also able to upgrade them as well, and if you go into another game, so if you start replaying the game, you're still able to do a new game plus type thing. However, one thing to be forewarned, and I hope they patch this or annotate it or something like that, but apparently from what I know, if you complete the game and then press new game, all your process is wiped just like that. So if you want to replay the game, you're going to have to replay it by going into the timeline and selecting the scenes you want to replay. Just a pro tip on that. Now, I have to say, with the gameplay itself, yes, this game is, the cutscene heavy type stuff, and I'm going to take the TV show out of it. It also has, its own cutscenes as well, too, but it has good chunks of gameplay as well, and I was impressed at how nice the firefights were. I mean, it's a third-person shooter, you have all these, time and space type things that you're able to manipulate and do, but the game itself is actually really fun when you get down to it, and I was very entertained by all the gunfights I had. There were some that might have been annoying here and there, but other times, it was really fast-paced, it was quite fun for what it is, but another thing that kind of ties into this, unfortunately, is also, at least with my understanding and when I was playing it on here, I just felt like there were some times where the controls were a little bit off. It almost felt like there was a bit of a delay to them, and I checked my TV settings, checked everything else. It wasn't that, but it just felt like there was a bit of a delay. However, when I was actually playing more and kind of getting used to it, it seemed to be okay, But then the other part with this was the cover system. Now, because this is a third-person shooter, they kind of wants to give you a cover system as well too, and it's not like Gears of War. See, when I think of a cover system, I think of Gears of War, and I think they did that pretty well. Essentially, you have your A button. You want to hug a wall, you press A next to it. You want to go into a wall while you're running, you run at that wall, and you hold down A or press A, and you become a magnet right up to it and stick to that wall. And it works great. And I don't know why they didn't do it for this, because I know that's not patented technology or an idea or anything like that. But essentially what happens is you're supposed to kind of go into cover just by going up to something. And most of the time it works, but sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't work, it gets really annoying. You know, your character might just stand up, your head might be poking out, anything like that. Now, another issue with this, which I found was pretty surprising, was when you get into close quarters combat, that's like when an enemy is right up next to you, they can hit you. Like, they can physically hit you, but you can't hit them. There's no melee in this game, and the closest thing I got to it was if you are using kind of your sprint function when you are freezing time and everything, you can press the B button and you can attack an enemy that way. That's the only way I found. Aside from that, there's no stealth takedowns, there's no takedown system at all, and there's nothing else that's really like that. There's no melee or anything, which I found absolutely shocking. And probably the biggest thing as well, dealing with a third-person shooter that has a cover system, there's no blind fire at all. To shoot anything, to shoot your weapons, you have to aim in all the time. Now, unfortunately, this was just one of those things where I feel like the system they had in place was good, but they could have expanded upon it, like by adding in those things. They could have tightened it up a little bit, as the controls did feel a little bit floaty. But some of the things I really can't forgive Remedy for in this is having a third-person shooter that has no blind fire mechanics, it doesn't have any type of melee, and no stealth or anything like that, especially when there are times where they encourage you to be quiet. It just seems kind of counteractive with what you're trying to do here. But again, these are things that you can get used to. They are little annoyances here and there, are things that I think were oversights, but getting into it as well, kind of coming off the gameplay itself, how it looks graphically, which you're looking at right here. Now, this is kind of where I'll get into why I didn't get the PC version at first. I did not get the PC version because I had seen issues with it. I've seen a bunch of issues with UWP, that's Universal Windows Platform, and I thought, I had a feeling they were going to carry over to this, but I did wait to get this game. I waited, an extra day. I didn't pre-order it or anything like that, and I saw reviews and performances come in and everything, and there's just a lot of issues with the PC version right now. So I would say, honestly, if you have to get the PC version, wait until the price drops on that at least. Wait for something else. Wait for UWP to become a more mature platform. Wait to get patched. Maybe they might even put this game on Steam. We don't know. That would actually be pretty nice. But with the previous UWP history, I wouldn't really recommend it too much. On Xbox One, however, there are some things right here. First off, the game runs at 30 frames per second. That's what it targets. Occasionally, there's going to be frame drops here and there, but honestly, it was nothing really that bad. And the game looks good. I was actually quite impressed at how it looks on here. Now, at least for my liking, it was a little bit too faded, I guess, and too soft at some points for my liking. But alas, it was still a great looking game, and I was impressed with what I was seeing on there. Although it would have been nicer if this game was 60 frames per second. They could say, yeah, we were targeting 30 for the cinematic feel and everything. I think it was more because they want to make a really good looking game, and they kind of wanted to just not really have it, take a graphical downgrade or anything like that, especially since the resolution itself is already kind of adaptive and going all over the place if you've seen analysis done on this game. But that shouldn't deter you from getting either version, honestly. Like, if you want to get the PC version, if you want to, you realize that you might be dealing with issues here and there, sure, you might get it if you're really dying for this. The Xbox One version, don't let that not let you get it. If you have the system available and you're interested in this game, I'd still recommend giving it a try. However, there was also a promotion going on where with the content of the game itself, first off, with my own version of the game, on specially marked packages, you can actually get a full copy of Alan Wake. Now, this is an Xbox 360 game that does work on the Xbox One as well, and it is the game with the 2 DLC, so it's a complete version of the game, and that's a game that I played years ago and I absolutely loved. So you kind of get 2 games in one, and I would absolutely absolutely recommend Alan Wake. So, you know, if you get bored of this game whenever you're tired of it, I would recommend checking out Alan Wake if you have it available. To my knowledge, I don't remember if the PC version had any of this, but there was a promotion going on prior to the game's release where if you pre-ordered a digital copy of it on Xbox One, you got the PC release as well too. And there were a few issues I had with this. I'm going to kind of talk about, you know, the content delivery on here. First off, what annoyed the hell out of me on this was you're dealing with the PC version and the Xbox One version, you know, being packaged together, but it's digital only. I'm a person who I would prefer to have physical releases, so I actually picked up a physical version of the game on Xbox One because it actually cost me less or about the same to get that deal. And some people might say, oh, well, they want you to go digital and they couldn't do this any other way. I understand they want us to go digital, but they could have done it. And my evidence of that is years ago when Portal 2 came out, if you bought a copy of it on the PS3, you got a free Steam code for a PC version of it as well, which is something that could have easily been done on here. They could have just included a code along with everything on this release that would allow you to have a PC version of Quantum Break as well, so that you could play that on your PC, on your account, if you ever wanted to. But with anybody who ended up pre-ordering it digitally on Xbox One, they got their Xbox One code first, and a lot of people had the understanding that they were also going to get the PC version at the same time, but that's actually not what happened. There ended up being a like 10-day or so delay, which doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know why. Point is, you're still going to get the code, but you're going to get it later, and I really don't know why they're doing it like that. But if you want to, you can just flat out buy the PC version right now. Now, aside from the technical defects and the issues with content delivery on here, one thing that might only affect a small amount of people, or people that are planning to either stream this game to Twitch, YouTube, Ustream, anything like that, or they plan to do a Let's Play or anything, one thing that was huge that really impressed me in here, but that's hidden in the settings, and by hidden, it's just you need to go into the settings and find it. That's it. You can actually disabled copyrighted music, and that means, you know, there are some songs, for example, Africa by Toto is played on here, and when you activate that function, that song is either replaced with something that will not be a copyrighted song, or that song might even be removed. I haven't tried it yet because the first time I was playing it, I wasn't recording any footage. However, for anybody who is wanting to do that, that is available, and I was actually very impressed at that little function right there, just because it shows that the developers are aware of what is going on in gaming in 2016. They're aware of what people want to do, and they are adapting to that as well. Now, I've covered a bit of the story, I've covered the graphics, I've covered gameplay, I've covered content delivery, and I've covered the audio a little bit, but what about the game itself, the overall package? Is this worth picking up? Is it worth trying? Anything like that? And what is the longevity of this product right here? Well, first off, I don't know if there's going to be any extra DLC or anything extra available for it, but I will say I'm actually probably going to pick it up if there is anything ever available, due to the fact that even with those issues, I was still actually impressed with this game, and I really did enjoy that. Now, is this game going to be for everyone? Absolutely not. And to me, one thing I was kind of thinking of with this was the PlayStation 4 equivalent, which to me was kind of the Order 1886, albeit a much older release, granted due to the fact that it takes place in the year 1886, and this game takes place in the year 2016, but that was a, you know, kind of limited 4 to 5 hour journey and everything. That was a single player experience on the PlayStation 4 that people did enjoy. I myself enjoyed it, but I just rented it. Now, this game I ended up picking up because I was kind of too impatient to wait on renting, and the rental places didn't have it, anything like that. Don't follow my example on there. You don't have to go out and buy it or anything. I just kind of chose to do that. But I'm actually okay with my purchase on this game. One, I do like Remedy titles, and two, I feel like this game does have more replayability, mostly due to the fact that you are able to twist and twine the show and everything else to your liking. Not only that, but there are other collectibles that are going to be available that are going to be in any other type of game. But point being is, this is actually a game I'm really considering going 100% at. The last game I did this with was Until Dawn, because although that was kind of, you know, you get the general overall basis of the story, your actions are still going to vividly affect what will happen in game, and that is what happens here as well. And I want to see everything else. I want to get all the collectibles, I want to get all the ripples, I want to do everything like that, and I want to go through again and do the exact opposite attempts of what I did the first time while playing this game. So to me, this game does have a good amount of replay value. However, with that also comes at a price, and by that I mean it is a short game. Honestly, I've seen people beat this game in like less than 4 hours. It's not that long of a game. The game content itself, I wouldn't be surprised if you could beat it in, 3.5 to 5 hours, anything like that. And then you're going to have, an extra 80, 90 minutes, something like that, with the cutscenes, with the live action show, everything like that. But the game itself, I wouldn't be too surprised with that. It is itself a short game. Probably one of the shortest that Remedy has made, at least out of the games I have played from them. And overall, I'll say this, I didn't spoil that much with the story because I didn't want to, so if you're kind of near the end of this review here, don't worry, I didn't spoil anything for you. But I'll say this, man, even the story itself, I'm still kind of sitting here trying to comprehend it and everything, which is reason enough for me to go back and play it a second time because I really did enjoy that experience, and I want to, as I said, try everything out, but also understand the story a bit more. I even told one of my friends who saw me playing near the end of it today, and he was saying, oh, I actually like that the story is a little bit complex and kind of to the point where you do have to get an understanding by playing it a second time. I like games like that, and I'm kind of like that to a degree. It's more shorter games, but because of the length of this game, I'm actually okay with that. So getting to the end here, you might be asking, Mario, what's the final verdict? Should I get in my car? Should I go out and buy it? Should I give Microsoft my credit card? What should I do on this? Here's the thing, man. If you want to go out and play this game, you're right now kind of just looking for excuses like, okay, well, I really want to get it, but maybe I shouldn't, maybe I shouldn't. If that's your thing, like if this seems interesting to you, if you understand that it's going to be a short game, that you might or might not want to replay anything like that, and remember, if you get a physical copy, you could always trade it back in, I would recommend a purchase on this if that's something you really desire. Now, I myself, my reviewing system is a little bit different because not only it's kind of off the cuff here, but I really don't do, a numbering system or anything like that. With the game itself, I would honestly say it's an average to good game, something like that. I would say it does have a good amount of replayability, but once all that replayability is taken up, it might just kind of sit on your shelf, because that's what happened with Until Dawn and myself. I played it the first time, loved it, played it through about 2 more times, and it sat on my shelf because I have 100% on that game. Granted, I did play it again later on because some friends and I did a group playthrough of it, but I myself playing it, after I got 100%, I didn't touch it just to play it on my own account, and that might happen with the same thing on Quantum Break, so just be warned of that. But if you're kind of iffy here and there, you're like, it seems interesting, I want to kind of pick it up, I'm not sure if it will be my forte, anything like that, I'd recommend a rental, I'd recommend a borrow, anything like that, or just wait for the price to drop on this. And if you're asking what platform should I pick it up on, well, as I said, the Xbox One platform, if you can deal with the 30 frames per second, it's stable enough, it works. The PC version, from what I've seen, it's kind of all over the place depending on your hardware and because of the port itself and also because of UWP. So I would honestly kind of wait on that one. Just kind of slow your roll. If you have to get the PC version, wait and see it mature, see it stabilize, everything like that. That would be my advice on that version. But anyways, this is Mr. Mario signing off. Thank you all for watching, everyone. Let me know what you all thought of this video. And if you're at the end of it and you enjoyed it, there's a like button for this. If you didn't like the video, you don't like the game, anything like that, you don't like me, there's also a dislike button as well too. Anyways, this is Mr. Mario signing off for real this time. Later, everyone.